Today, we're diving into a powerful tool that helps us connect ideas and add detail to our sentences. Relative clauses. A relative clause is a part of a sentence that gives us more information about a noun. It's like a mini description that helps us be more specific. Example, the woman who lives next door is a doctor. Here, who lives next door is the relative clause. It tells us more about the woman. There are two types of relative clauses: restrictive and non-restrictive. Restrictive clauses. These give essential information about the subject. Without them, the sentence loses meaning. In this kind of clauses we don't use commas. Non-restrictive clauses. These add extra information. The sentence still makes sense without them. We have to use commas to separate the clause. Relative clauses usually begin with relative pronouns or relative adverbs. Here are the most common ones. Who. For people. Whom. Formal, for people when function as an object. Whose. Shows possession. Which. For things or animals. That. For people or things in restrictive clauses. Where. For places. When. For the time of an action. Why. For reasons, but it's less common. Let's see some examples. Who. Relative clauses using who refer to people and act as the subject of the clause. It gives essential information to identify the person. Restrictive relative clause with who. The teacher who helped me was very kind. Non-restrictive relative clause with who. My uncle, who lives in Canada, is visiting next month. Whom. Relative clauses using whom refer to people and are used when the person is the object of the verb or preposition in the clause. Restrictive relative clause with whom. The colleague whom I met yesterday will join the project. Note, in everyday English, especially in speech, whom is often replaced with who, though whom is more formal and grammatically precise. Non-restrictive relative clause with whom. Miss Thompson, whom I gave my phone number, is an expert in AI. Whose. Relative clauses using whose show possession and can refer to people, animals, or things. Restrictive relative clause with whose. The student whose essay won the prize is in my class. Non-restrictive relative clause with whose. My neighbor, whose phone kept ringing, finally turned it off. Which. Relative clauses using which are used to give more information about a noun, typically referring to things or animals, not people. Restrictive relative clause with which. The book which won the award is out of print. Note, in restrictive clauses, that is often preferred over which in everyday English, especially in American usage. Non-restrictive relative clause with which. Her latest novel, which won a major prize, is being adapted for film. That. That is commonly used in restrictive clauses to specify exactly which person or thing you're talking about. Relative clauses with that are used only in restrictive clauses, not in non-restrictive ones. Restrictive relative clause with that. The book that helped me learn English is on the table. Where. A relative clause with where gives more information about a place, physical or abstract. It connects the main clause to the relative clause and avoids repeating the place. Restrictive relative clause with where. The cafe where we met last summer has closed. Where we met last summer identifies which cafe. Non-restrictive relative clause with where. She returned to Paris, where she had studied, to attend a conference. The clause gives extra context about Paris. When. Relative clauses using when are used to refer to time and typically follow nouns like day, time, moment, year, or occasion. Restrictive relative clause with when. I remember the day when she walked into my house. The clause is necessary to identify the day. Non-restrictive relative clause with when. In 2005, when I moved to Mexico, everything changed. Why? Relative clauses using why are typically used to explain reasons, and they follow nouns like reason, explanation, or cause. Restrictive relative clause with why. The reason why she left early was never explained. Why she left early restricts or defines the reason. Non-restrictive relative clause with why. Non-restrictive clauses with why are not common. Instead, writers often use a separate sentence, or a clause introduced by, which is why, or for which. He was late, which is why we started without him. Thanks for watching. If you found this content valuable, please consider subscribing and giving the video a like. This helps others discover this content too. Keep learning, and I'll see you in the next video.